Yo, what's happening, baby? This is the Flaming Sword Musing, and I'm seeing Khan. I'm gonna try to be brief with this one because one of the reasons I actually came out for this little stroll is to catch this little musing. I was watching a YouTube video by a YouTube content creator, and I'll put it in the description, the actual video. But he was talking about some song that Glorilla made. I don't know the name of the song, and I don't particularly remember the lyrics, but I consider myself to be a thick-skinned dude. And when I saw, I'm like, word, that's what we on? Sheesh. She was getting gutter with it. And through the course of the video, he made the comment of how normalized it is for men to speak, certain ways to women. And I would like to take this time to say something, like I said, I'm going to try to be brief with it because it's fresh on my mind. I have the utmost respect for women and womanhood. I consider myself to be pretty close to womanhood by virtue of the fact that I'm a Pisces, and I try to bring a certain depth and understanding to everything that I bring to life. And that being said, I know that a lot of times when I have like conversations and stuff like that, I'm liable to speak to y'all in certain ways or refer to you in certain ways that may be derogatory. And I want you to know that I mean that. And I don't want to feel wrong for meaning the things that I say because I feel like I'm speaking a vernacular or a dialect. And I don't want to say that dialect is wrong. I would prefer to say that it is a warped dialect. And sometimes when I speak and refer to you in certain ways, it is reflective of the dialect or the vernacular, the way of speaking. I consider myself to be a code breaker. So I feel like I can adjust my vernacular or my dialect to reflect whatever conversation that I'm having. And when I speak of you ladies in certain ways, I understand that I am simply using a vernacular. And like I said, I don't feel like that vernacular is wrong. I feel like that vernacular is warped, And through the course of me saying these warped things about you, I myself have an understanding that the conversation itself is warped. So I sometimes, whenever I think about it, whether it's with a female or a man, whenever it occurs to me that I'm having a warped conversation, I adjust my vernacular or my lingo or my dialect to reflect the warpedness or the absurdity of the conversation that I'm having in and of itself. But I still want to hold on and maintain the general principles of what I'm talking about. I said before in my musing, I think it was called I want to say Don't pressure yourself. I said, if you give me a choice to look down on you or look down on myself, I'm going to look down on you. It's a no-brainer. We need to understand that that's a warped way, because I don't have to look down on nobody. So the fact that I choose to look down on you or speak a certain way to you, whether male or female, is really a consequence of warped circumstances, or set of circumstances that warp that energy to come out. Like, I don't know if a lot of women understand it, but squares want the same things the pimps want. You know what I mean? The same thing a square husband wants for his wife, from his wife, is the same thing that a pimps want from his hoe. The only difference is that, you know, if a square gets a female who actually is hoish, he's gonna have to get pimpish just to maintain the principles that he knows that he has to do, so to speak. You know what I mean? He might have to talk to her like a hoe. He might have to talk to her in whatever, yeah, that's how I could say it. He should be able to speak to her and talk to her and communicate his point of view in whatever vernacular she presents the conversation. So if a female can have a real conversation and be speaking upon real feelings, and she'll say something as racy as Glorilla said, I myself understand that that is a reflection of the warped existence that we are living. The fact that we have to have these types of conversations with the people that we are trying to build with. The fact that we have to have these types of conversations or speak to one another in vernaculars that drive us into our lower selves in order to get what we want, instead of speaking in vernaculars that drive us to our higher selves. And I'm not just talking about, you know, man to woman. I'm talking about, you know, man to man too. You know, us as black males in America, we are the most beset upon demographic in this nation. Like, we're fair game. We are, in fact, the most vulnerable demographic in this nation. But we are not ever allowed to reflect that vulnerability that we all know we have to each other. You know what I mean? And by vulnerability, I don't mean fear or whatnot, but just the simple fact that in our community, our society, like, as a reflection of prison society, like, I believe that, like, if you go into prison and you present yourself as a punk, you know, you might not necessarily get, you know, anally raped, but you might be forced to join a gang. I mean, once they decide that you're a mark, they're gonna treat, I mean, you feel me? Once they read you, them sharks, them wolves, they're gonna hunt you down. They're gonna figure out what your vulnerability is and not even use it to their advantage, just take you down. You know what I mean? Us as black men, the most beset upon demographic in this country, are simply unallowed to be vulnerable. And that goes back to my conversation on stotting, where the tough posture is actually a signal that a person feels vulnerable, so that the wolves and the sharks don't get on them. You know what I mean? But we have to allow ourselves to interact with one another on different frequencies, have different conversations, just so that we can talk to each other different. You know? We don't have to always speak about man-woman relations in a sexual context or confrontational context or anything like that, because those contexts allow us to do things and say things that warp the perspective of what all of us are trying to do. Like, I don't care what Glorilla said in her song. I know that ultimately she want her man. You know what I mean? And we need to allow Glorilla to be able to have the conversations that she wants to have, so that she could say things different from the things that she's saying. And the way that we can do that is by saying different things to her. You know? We know how we talk to these women, man. We know how we talk to each other. We know how we treat our women. We know how we treat each other. And we are the ones who are the providers of the experience. We have to provide our women, our children, our brothers, the opportunity to have different conversations with one another, so that we can just simply say different things to each other. If we do not allow ourselves the opportunity to just simply say different things to each other, what are we going to do to each other? I hope you guys get something from this. Once again, my name is Musing. Be blessings and be blessed. 1.